welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, as always, on Mondays is my good friend, Michele Berra. Michele, what's up?
Woo! It's been 2 days of excitement here. It's the best game of the season. It's been awesome. I'm rewatching part of the game over the past 2 days. It's been amazing. It's a good time to be a Thunder fan right now, today, even yesterday, maybe more yesterday than today.
It's unbelievable. I still cannot believe they beat the Nuggets in Denver in a highly competitive game. I mean, that was one, and I asked this question on Twitter for a reason, because the Thunder have had good wins over the past calendar year, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's been good wins. Beating the Lakers that night of LeBron making history was a good one. That's one people brought up. Beating the Pelicans in the play-in, that was a good win. Those are good, hard-fought competitions. But this is the first win in a long time that made me think, oh, this team is kind of different. There's something about this squad, and some of it is the competitive level that Chet Holmgren is at takes this team up such a big notch from even winning the play-in. It's there was part of the play-in that felt Lou Dort shot the ball really well. Josh Giddey shot the ball really well.
Yeah.
They played well. They won the game. Shea delivered that game for them. It's not like they were undeserving of the win, but there was still a part of you that we kind of got away with something. This one was no. They went and took that game. And it wasn't some lucky shooting night. It wasn't Isaiah Joe coming off the bench going 5 of 6 from 3. What it was a highly physical, highly competitive game that the Thunder, they just wouldn't go away. The Nuggets kept punching them over and over again. And the Thunder would just keep coming back. They kept coming back over and over again. And they stole that win from Denver and won it because they just willed themselves to that win. And I thought they honestly had a chance to do that in Sacramento too. They just missed the shots. Just the way that this team is playing right now is so impressive. And I titled this podcast of the Thunder West Contenders because I think it's an interesting question to ask at this point. I think we can discuss it, but just give me your overall thoughts from the weekend and specifically the Nuggets game.
Yeah, something that sticks to my mind is that last year, when we had great games, it was hey, J-Dub had an awesome game. Sometimes it was, hey, Kenrich was really helpful with the second unit. Hey, we had Isaiah Joe. Last night, 2 nights ago against Denver, it was Shea's game winner alongside the gazillion point that he always has. It was the 8 blocks from Chet Holmgren, which happened in crucial moments of the game. It was not well distributed in the game. It was concentrated in moments where OKC extremely needed those. And on top, it was J-Dub, nailing jumper after jumper in the clutch. Yeah. So you have these 3 players that one way or the other are playing well together. And when they do that, they are very, very hard to stop, even if all the other components are not having the best nights of their life. Because, and this will sound really stupid, but when Ousmane Dieng nails threes after threes, and Kaysen Wallace has 3 threes, or Isaiah Joe goes 6 out of 7 in Golden State, that is easy. Which is not the proper word, because going 6 out of 7 requires an amount of talent that I will never ever have in 10 lives.
7 threes in that game against the Nuggets. They only made 7.
Exactly, but winning when your bench is not really give you a punch offensively, and you're playing the best team on the planet Earth, and they are playing well. Winning this way, winning the hard way, it's something that you need. Now, it would be bad if you have to do it all the time, because it means that you lack something. But I mean, this bench, this second unit, these guys that we are mentioning, they produce a lot of very good games that the Thunder won against the best of the best. You need your three best players to compete at the highest level, and the three of them did it for in very different ways. And this to me is the best news, and this to me is the reason why you need to. Well, we'll talk about that later. Sorry, I don't want to hijack everything and and talk about roster already. Let's focus on now for a second.
Yeah. I thought, and this has been kind of an interesting thing throughout the season so far, is just the way that Chet has kind of been able to adjust as he plays particular opponents multiple times, and he was just a lot better against Jokic. And some of that was like strategy too, not only from Chet but like from Mark, is that they often didn't make it a Chet versus Jokic matchup. You know, they would even put Dort down there with him at times to kind of shove him away from the hoop so that Chet was freed up for rebounds. Because
Yeah.
I think that's like one of the things that Chet is really good at. But whenever you when you have the biggest guy on him, it's much harder for him. But the Thunder have kind of started to adjust and say, okay, well, if Chet can't do it against those guys, like we'll put J Will in. Like have J Will there, and that frees Chet up to block shots, and it frees him up to rebound a little bit better when you have a big body down there. They did the same thing with Dort in different spots. I thought that was like really sound strategy from the coaching staff. And then Chet just gets better. Like and this is only the second time he's seen Jokic and was totally improved. And in fact, like Jokic is like rarely ever a minus on the court ever, unless it's a blowout. So he's been a minus in only 5 games so far this season. 3 of them were blowouts. They got blown out by Minnesota. They got blown out by Cleveland. They got blown out by Houston. And he was a minus in all 3, which is like you're going to be a minus in a blowout, especially if you're a starter. He was also somehow a minus against Detroit that they won, but like all Detroit games are just weird. And he only had 9 points on 8 shots in that game. So it's like a big whatever. But this is in a 1-point game. And my friend Peter sent me this morning. I was like, that's a great point. In a 1-point game, Jokic was a -9.
Yeah, they won the minutes with Jokic on. They lost the minutes with Jokic off.
It was very bizarre because the whole time I'm thinking, as they're losing the game, as they're losing these minutes, it's like Aaron Gordon is often like their leader on the court. You know, you're like, oh my gosh, like you can't beat the Nuggets like this. I mean, I just
apparently you can't
myself over and over again, but apparently you can't. But like that's not typically the way that you do it. I mean, you look at all the rest of his games, and like there's way more double-digit, positives for him than there are negatives.
Yeah,
he's just that's just the way that he functions. That's why he's won the MVP twice.
Yeah, and I think that we also need to talk about execution, because I think that, and you mentioned it, and I know that you wanted to go there. In Sacramento, they really executed down the stretch, and this is something that Dignault mentioned after the Denver game. He said, we're playing much better as of late. We are executing much better. I think that we are better than the beginning of the season where the shot was going in. This is basically what he said. I'm not quoting word for word. But I think that the idea was, hey, we were hitting shots, and that gave us a lot of good wins, but we were not playing this level of basketball. And if you look at the way in which OKC created against Sacramento in the last few minutes on offense, and also to me, defensively against Denver. I mean, yes, Dort slipped on that jumper of Jamal Murray, but if you look at how we defended the last 5 minutes of the game, there were moments where I say, oh my goodness, Dort is amazing. He's doing amazing stuff. And if you look at the denial that he and Chet did on the last shot, it was perfect. It was just textbook. You can't do nothing better than that. And if you are able to do it in crucial moments against the best team, not having like a brain fart when the game is on the line, this is what it shows to me that they are not ready, but they are doing the right things, and they are enjoying doing the right things, because you can see them doing whenever the game, independently of where the game is. And so it's really good to see such a young team doing already this high level stuff in clutch moments.
Yeah, it is. It is really impressive to see them execute. And like, if you just break down, like if you just stopped every single shot before they took it, in both the Sacramento and the game against the Nuggets, you'd be like, wow, like look at the quality of shots they're getting. Like they're either getting like wide open threes, or they're like getting shots near the hoop. And it's like,
including one against 4 guys of J-Dub that I don't know how he scored that one.
He was very proud of that too, by the way. He was very proud of that moment himself. He put it on his own Instagram page. So.
Yeah.
He was really bad against the Kings, like one of his worst games as a pro, and then bounced back and really delivered in that game against the Nuggets. I mean, he was
so bad
impressive
against Sacramento in terms of the ball going into the hoop,
shooting,
which is a crucial part of this sport.
Yeah, it's how you win, some say.
Yeah, some say. But it's not like he had like a bad decision-making game.
Sure.
Which
he took the right shots. He made good passes. He defensively, he was there. It's just just
stuff like that happened to anybody in the league. Shea had a horrible game against the Nuggets the first time around, like a horrible game. And it was not about choices. It was just about the ball not going in to the degree that he expected. So I also think there is, like, rotations are much tighter, and they are adjusting to it. I mean, there is no fooling around, which is something that I kind of like, because I wanted to see Dagnall going a little bit more into, hey, I'm showing you that I want to win. It's development is part of my strategy, but it's also very tuned towards, we need to win as much games as we can.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And, the Thunder, they've cooled off over the last, 10 games or so. And, with, true shooting and all of that, which was, just out of this world.
Mm-hmm.
The first, chunk of the season. The last 10 games, they're 15th in true shooting at a 58.4%. That feels right. Effective field goal, they're 20th over the last 10 games, and yet they're still 6-4, and they're playing quality opponents. Like those, the wins where they are shooting lights out, and they have the best true shooting in the league, and they're the best 3-point shooting team in the league. You kind of think to yourself, like, okay, like this is cool. I like this. I want to see more of this. But there's a part of you that thinks, I just don't know if we're going to see this. Because during that time, during this last 10 games, they're 21st in 3-point shooting, 35.5%, down from the 40% that they started the season. And to me,
I don't think that is indicative of what there will be at the end of the season. I think that they will be better.
I think so
how much better?
I think so too.
Not 40%.
I mean, if you look at them now, they're 38.6%. They're still second in the league, overall, which I think is they are a good shooting team. The guys who take the threes are good shooters. The guys who take the free throws are good shooters. They have that there, and some of this is cold shooting from Chet is a huge part of it. And they just didn't really even take. I mean, they made, like I said earlier, they made 7 threes against the Nuggets, and they took 21, I think.
Yeah.
They didn't take as many, and so you can't make as many. And then, but it's so important that they're able to win, go 6-4 during a stretch where you're not shooting well, because that is indicative of a good team. Because any bad team in the league can go out there and hit shots and beat anybody on any given night. And the Thunder,
Charlotte,
like
Charlotte. Last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you remember like the PJ
Yeah.
game?
Oh yeah, I was there.
Wow.
I watched PJ Washington just light up the Thunder. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it on any given night. Like
Yeah.
during a stretch of games where you're not shooting as well, what do? How do you react? How do you play? And so I think that's really important. Like the Clippers right now, like they've won their last 6 games. Is it 6 games that last 6 games that they won?
I think so.
Like they're shooting really well over that stretch. No, are they 8-0? No, that's 8. That's not right. Is that right?
Wow. I don't know. Let's see.
They won their last 7. Sorry,
7, yes. 8-2 the last 10.
but like in their last 6 games, they're the best shooting team in the league.
Yeah.
Like it will help you run off games like that. Look at Chicago. Chicago too has played well lately. They're 41% from 3 over this last stretch. Like that will propel you to like big nights and like big stretches if you just have this like hot shooting stretch. But what happens when it falls? And what happens when you're the Thunder and you're shooting 35% instead? Well, over the last 6 games, over the last 6 games, even if you just bring it down even a little bit more, they shot 35%, 21st in the league.
Yeah.
They're 4-2 during that stretch. If you look at every other team that's shot around 35%, I mean, you look at Cleveland, 3-3. You look at the Nets, 3-3. Portland's 0-6, but they stink. Indy has only shot 35% over the last 6 games. They're 3-3. Phoenix is 2-4, and they've shot 35%. The Wizards, they stink. Memphis, they stink. Like we're talking about, some of these are just really just bad teams.
Yeah.
But the teams that are shooting that percentage over the course of the last 6 games, like they're just not executing. And the Thunder, like that's the thing with the Thunder, is like they can, even despite the 3-ball not going in, they're still able to find ways to win. And a lot of that is due to Shea, Dub, and Chet. Those 3 executing in the mid-range and at the hoop.
And this ties with what Sam Presti was saying in the conference at the end of the season. He was saying that we had a good month. And he was mentioning the month of January where OKC shot lights out and they won a lot of games. They made a lot of ground in that 20-game stretch where they had like really high-level shooting. And I think that right now OKC has put together the first 24 games, and they have been lucky in terms of shooting and opponent shootings. Lucky not in terms of this comes out of luck, but it's like you know what I mean, like being a little bit ahead of what it should be on both ends. But they also, like over their last 10, as you mentioned, I mean, not only their percentage went down, the opponent's percentage went up. Not in a dramatic change of defense. Like Aaron Holiday is a guy that you probably semi-guard. It's not a guy that you really stick to tightly. It's not the best shooter of the Rockets, and yet he was just going bananas. So did Keon Ellis. So the luck has been a little bit less, but OKC still has results. Now, we were inches away from being 3-3 instead of 4-2, or inches away of being 5-1 if you want. This to me tells the story that this team is playing well, and even if part of the players that they have are either not playing, because I'm still questioning why Bava is not playing. It's fun that I'm calling Bava, and it sounds well. But also Josh is not playing well. Is playing bad basketball, except for the night in Sacramento, where I think that he was flying around doing good things, whereas against Denver it was miserable to watch.
Yeah.
So not because of the results of the play, because of the energy, the lack of energy. I mean, against Sacramento, it was a different player. That player, I think, can stick in a team like this one, big time, because he was getting rebounds, going after loose balls and whatnot. Is he perfect? No. Is he the easiest fit? No. But he's useful if he plays like that. But he needs to do that. So even if like part of the roster is not performing as we expect it to, they're playing so well in general. Like
Mm.
so well.
Yeah. Yeah, they really are. Yeah, it's impressive. And the thing that if you're a team that tanks and what you're looking for is like, can we get a top 5 player in the league? Like, that's ultimately what you want.
Mhm.
They have that in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We
Yeah.
get another player that's around top 20 in the league, at least potentially. And like, that's Chet.
Mhm.
Chet can be a top 20 player in the league. He may not be today. Some metrics say that he is, some say they're not. Like, we just need more experience with him to figure that out.
Yeah.
I think he will be. I think that's the kind of player he is. I think that he has the potential to be a top 10 player in the league down the road. One, you just have to get more experience together. You have to go through some battles together. You have to
Mhm.
just do it all together. Like, that's okay. And then you need probably a top 50-ish player as your third guy, which I think is what J-Dub can be and maybe is already. Like, that's
Top 40. Yeah.
what you're wanting, out of a rebuild. And then, like, you fill the pieces around them with role players, typically, if you have a top 5, a top 20, a top 50. Like, that's how, like, championship teams are built. Or it's even better, like the Heat teams, or however you want to. I mean, the Celtics with KG, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce is kind of that recipe where, like, KG was probably a top 5 player during that time. Ray Allen's like your top 40, 30-ish, 40-ish player, and then Paul Pierce a little bit better than that.
Yeah.
And then they just had role players around those guys. And the Thunder had like the opportunity to have even better than that with a lot of these guys. Think about the Spurs with Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. Same thing. And like Tony Parker and Manu feel like they kind of like switch spots at different times
Mhm.
during that era. But that's what they did. Or you can have like 2 mega stars like Shaq and Kobe, where that, the Nuggets, they have their top 5 player in Jokic. They have their
Mhm.
top 30-ish, 20-ish player in Jamal Murray. And then like it's either Aaron Gordon or MPJ. Like
Yeah.
that's like the recipe that, like, through time, this is how teams have done it. This is how they've won the whole thing. And the Thunder have those pieces in place. Like, they have done it. And now to me, it's a matter of, okay, one, this is amazing. Like, that's the
Yeah.
first thing. It's like, this
The
is
first, the second, the third,
unbelievable.
the fourth, the fifth. This is what we should think. Like in the top 10 things, 9
Yeah.
spots should be taken by this is freaking awesome. Like,
Yeah.
when is the next game? Is it tonight? Is it in 2 hours? Is it now? Like,
Mhm.
this is how I feel. Like, as you know, I wake up extremely early to watch basketball. And I really want to do that. Like, really, really. Now, was I pissed that I woke up at 5 a.m. to watch Sacramento? Sure, at the end a little bit. But like, when you have games like the Denver one, which
Yeah.
are more common than the other ones,
Yeah.
you feel amazed by what this team is doing. And you can already see the change. Like, this is also important. Look at the way they were playing at the beginning. Look at the way Chet was playing against Drummond. And look at the
Yeah.
way he's playing against Jokic now. Like, it's 24 games. It's not like 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So it's we're seeing something grow at a very, very high pace. And we
Mhm.
should enjoy that. We should
Yeah.
really be mindful about, hey, this is awesome. This is just started to be awesome. Let's
Yeah.
focus on the awesomeness of what we are watching.
Yeah. Without a doubt. And having the top 5 guy affords you to be able to make a lot of mistakes. Like, look at the Sixers, who have not accomplished anywhere near what they wanted to accomplish whenever they
Mhm.
started out. But just the fact that they have a top 5 guy in Embiid has allowed them to make mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. And like, they had to have some luck along the way to get like a guy retires Maxey. with all like the trades and the turnover and the
Thank
Jimmy
you,
Butler
Mike.
here and gone. I mean, it's just a disaster, an absolute disaster that happened there. But they're still like in the mix because they have the top 5 guy. The Thunder are not making those mistakes. They're not going to make their Tobias Harris trade this year. They're not even going to make their Jimmy Butler trade this year.
No,
You know, and they have like the top 3 guys who all complement each other. Those 3 complement each other very much, very, very much, which is also very helpful. Like you have like these 2 dynamic like guard / wings plus a big that can shoot and block shots and pass and rim run, like all of those things. It's unbelievable what they've been able to do. And if you just have those 3 and like you have Casey Wallace, you have Isaiah Joe,
Mhm.
you have guys to fill in the gap. And like Josh Giddey hadn't played well. No one would sit and argue that he's played well, that things have been much better than you think they have been. Like, no, they haven't been. But like also the fact remains, if the Josh Giddey pick ends up being a bust, let's just say like it goes like completely in the tank, it's an absolute bust. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It like in the grand scheme of things, it just honestly does not matter because they got the top 3 guys. And then you can go fill it in. You can go fill in the rest with the massive amount of picks that they have. And so like to me it's just what they need now is experience and lots of different experiences together. You know, that's what they need now. And they need the time to mesh and to get to the point where they have their primes are overlapping. We are still really far away.
Yeah.
We are still far away from Chet's prime or even his pre-prime. We are still a ways of we're in Shea's pre-prime now, or in his beginning of his prime, whatever you want to call it. We're still
you
a
can
bit
go
away.
prime at 25 years old when you have like such. I mean, prime is not something that always correlates with age. I mean,
Sure.
we can't say that around the age of 24, 26, 27, this is where your prime starts. And to me, it's clear to the consistency of Shea's craft that we can say that this is
his prime.
Yeah. So he's there. And this is why I listen and I hear people are saying like wasting someone's prime is a crime, to make a rhyme. But also sharing some experience as a team, as a young team with the member of the core while winning, which is the most important thing to me. Like while winning.
That is absolutely the thing. That's the thing, that it is not wasting anybody's prime if you're second in the Western Conference. After 24 games. There's no way. Like, what are we wasting? Like, what is being? That's the thing, is like, there's nothing being wasted. They have the second best point differential in the Western Conference. And like Jason Potter's somewhere in here. Yeah. He's pointing out that like opponent shooting has also regressed too to the mean, where it was like really low and it's coming back up.
They're
about 35%. Here it is. The Rockets' opponents are shooting 31% for the season, LOL, which is like completely unsustainable. And the Thunder's now is up to 35.5%, which is like league average. And so like they're winning, even though opponents are shooting league average, their shooting has gone back down. Like they're finding ways to win still. Like this team should be celebrated, and like we should be more so encouraging them to like the plan is working. Like the plan is absolutely working.
And it's also like if you have like the magic wand where you can cast a spell and magically improving the team, spending picks, everybody would do it. Like even some Presti at this moment. If you have again the magic spell to just say, okay, let's create the player that makes us better. Let's get in Iguodala at the right moment. Sure. Point is
also like, oh yeah, go ahead. I have another point, but yeah, go ahead.
Point is, you need to also assess the risk of a trade, for a guy that is getting into a locker room with needs, dreams, and demands.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that a team should never trade for a guy, but to me, it's still true, maybe to a higher degree, that it's not yet clear what this team needs. Well, you say, Michele, you're stupid. They are missing a rebounder. Awesome. Are we sure about that? Is it now? Sure. Today, would a rebounder like, I don't know, Wallace, would Ben Wallace help this team rebound? Sure. Can Chet become a better rebounder by being beat down 40 games into this season? Can he be better understanding what he's doing wrong instead of
Yeah.
getting someone who can take rebounds because he's good at it? Which one is most important? Are we sure about that? Are we sure that it's more important to get rebounds now compared to Chet learning how to be a better rebounder?
Yeah.
Let's get Lauri Markkanen. Awesome. Sure. Who's getting shots away? Giddy. Fine. Those are 10 shots, 11 shots, 12 shots. Is it okay for Markkanen, who has been an all-star, who now, away from Utah, would be okay? Now you trade for me because I want to be Shea's 1B. Are we cool with that? I'm not cool with that.
No.
I'm not.
We if we traded for him, it would be to make him a floor spacer. Like that's what it'd be. I want to reference something. February 17th, 2009. The Thunder traded for Tyson Chandler, February 17th, 2009. The Thunder have a GM who's going to be opportunistic when it makes sense to be opportunistic. When there's a player available, now, like we all know, like the devastation of that trade was that they gave up hardly anything. I mean, it was Chris Wilcox, Joe Smith, and the rights to Devon Harden. Not even James Harden, Devon Harden.
Devon Harden.
And they got Tyson Chandler, which was rescinded and regretfully rescinded.
Yeah.
But they made the deal then. Like they were ready to do something then in 2009 because it was opportunistic. The Thunder have made opportunistic deals too. Like, I mean, they ultimately traded Jeff Green for a piece after they saw Jeff in the playoffs against the Lakers. Because Jeff in the playoffs against the Lakers, here are his stats: 11 points, 4.7 boards, 1.7 assists. Shot 29% from three on 4.5 attempts from deep. Like, interesting that he took that many threes in that series against them and was just really bad. And a lot of it was like he did not have the size to compete in the West at that time during those Western Conference runs. Like he just didn't have it. They saw it and they got to work. And it took a little bit for them to make the deal, but they eventually traded him for Kendrick Perkins. Was it right or wrong? Like we can debate the merits of the trade itself. You know, I don't think that they're able to compete with teams like Memphis without a guy like Perk, which, like, remember those Memphis series were intense. Like
so
triple
fun.
overtime. Like amazing.
Do you remember when Perk and Zach Randolph went to the I think it was, I don't remember who the referee was, and they basically asked him, can we beat each other a bit? Just don't call it. I mean, we will beat each other a little bit. Let it go.
Yeah.
just to be physical. So it's I mean, I agree. And again, if you look at many of those trades, you can say, okay, they served a purpose. Were they the best trades? No, probably no. So I really think that on top of we really don't know yet what the needs are for the best version of the Thunder that is lying out there, and it's ready to be shown to the world in a couple of years. I also think that you need to understand volumes, not usage, volume of shots and opportunities. I mean, those needs to be there for Dub and for Chet, because Shea will take his. I mean, it's clear now. I bet probably the Shea was around 27, 28 compared to 30, and it's no.
Yeah, no,
I'm
no.
the guy. I'm taking shots, and Dub is aggressive, and I like that. And Chad, I mean, we're all saying, man, Chet needs to take more shots. He
Yeah,
needs to learn that. I mean, we are
yeah.
advocating now to have
Mhm,
maybe Chet getting at 16 shots per game.
mhm.
And and it's not that you can go way above 55, 56, 60 shots on 3 players. Now Shea is extremely efficient, but you can't. So if you add a guy like Markkinen or a guy that takes away that, it's not easy. Now,
Yeah,
look at the Golden State example. They had 3 players. They went to a battle together. They missed something. They missed someone who can help them navigate the playoffs and be the steady presence, being like a Swiss Army knife. And they get Iggy. Iggy was the best player to get at the moment. I mean,
the perfect player, because
exactly,
he didn't take anything off of anybody's plate. What he did is he like added to everything. Like
exactly.
he did exactly what they wanted. And like theoretically, a guy like Josh Giddey who has this like Swiss Army knife type of skill set, like should be able to do that. Whether he becomes that or not, once we get like further away from all of the allegations and all of it, maybe he becomes that, maybe he doesn't. Honestly, again, it doesn't matter. Maybe Casey Wallace becomes that glue type of guy for them, who like
Yeah,
defends, passes, shoots when he's open, plays in transition, defends at such a high level. Great. I mean, you look at like the shot attempts across like the last 10 games, Shea with 20, Dub with 14, Chet with 13. Like, yeah, like that's getting closer to what we want it to be.
yeah,
You look over the past like 6 games. Chet's numbers have gone down, but like J Dubs have gone up to 15 and 20. And like that's like that's what you want from this team. Is like you want those guys to have more opportunities. Like ultimately, like that's what you want, is for Chet and J Dub and Shea to take on a bulk of the offense. And the fact that you have 3 is a big deal. Like the fact that you have 3 guys that you feel like they can grow together and that nobody's stepping on anybody's toes. None of them have to come off the bench. None of them have to do whatever. Like they can all start together. They can all play big minutes together. Like that's a big deal, because like the first version of like the OK3 is KD, Westbrook, Harden. Well, Harden's coming off the bench. Well, did he have to come off the bench? I don't know. I think that they had like some, Manu Ginobili
yeah,
fantasy, going on there that you just hope to, whatever.
yeah. We want Manu. We want to be the Spurs.
But we've also seen like we've seen Harden and Westbrook in lineups together. It didn't exactly work in Houston when they were still closer to their primes. Even
Yeah,
now, Westbrook had to come off the bench. It's like my point in all that is like these 3, the fit of the 3, like there's zero concern about those 3. Like it's
yeah,
amazing. Now it comes down to, how do we mold them together? How do we give them a lot of shared experience? And how do we help maximize those 3? I think those are like the questions that you have to ask. And like, so now like you're seeing rumors of guys like Isaiah Stewart, which I would just love to squash like any and every Isaiah Beef Stewart rumor to Oklahoma City.
I
Uh,
really hope
I
not.
just don't like. Can we just like all do this? Like we read it and we see it and we're like, oh, like we have this like little rush of adrenaline because it says like our team's name in the report.
Adrenaline?
I mean, I'm telling you,
I'm
dude.
not. I'm not going to say live what is the rush that I had when I read Beefs 2 on our group chat.
It's not. I
It's not
understand.
adrenaline. It doesn't start with A.
Yeah, it
Maybe a
was
little
not
bit anxiety, yes. Not adrenaline.
not a rush of adrenaline. Yeah, he's not the guy. Like, doesn't shoot. Not much of a passer himself. Um, not the kind of defender exactly that you want. Not like some crazy rebounder. He's like okay. Like he's pretty good. His rebound rate has like gone down this year, and maybe that's the emergence of Jalen Duren or whatever it is. But like this ain't the guy, guys. And if you want to keep Dort around, like, are you really going to pay Isaiah Beef Stewart, which is Brian Windhorst called him that one time and like on accident, and I cannot. That's the only thing that I feel like I can call him now is Isaiah Beef Stewart. Isaiah Beef Stewart and Dort. Can you afford to pay them $30 million a year?
Oh, sorry.
Like, you can't do it. Like you can't
no.
do it. It just makes
Now-
no sense. And like maybe you want to swap him for Dort, which I just think would be a huge mistake and really, really
What?
dumb.
Like
there's
not
no-
even
there-
me. Not even
like,
me.
yeah, try to come up with a
what are we
trade that makes
saying?
sense. It's just that like just we can all collectively use our brains when these reports come up. And
Yeah.
like people in the chat are like, no, yeah, great. We just have to all collectively use our brains when it comes to these trades. Like consider the source, consider the idea, consider what it would take to get that person in trade. Consider the money that they make, consider the contract. So like when we talk about like OG Anunoby or like all these guys that you want, like OG Anunoby is an unrestricted free agent after this season. They're not trading for an unrestricted free agent. Like that's not going to happen. So like you can mark all those guys off the list. So like
But
we
let's
just
dream, bit, Andrew. Can we
use our
dream?
brains. That's
Can
it.
we dream? Breen. No, not Mike Breen. Can we dream with the
Bring Mike Breen in as our play-by-play announcer? Yes, we can. I would like to dream of Breen. Hashtag dream of Breen.
Dream of Breen is awesome. Wow, this is fantastic. Like this is actually my dream to have Mike Breen calling every single game. Like, can you imagine? I will be so happy.
I was walking right behind Mike Breen at the in-season tournament, like underneath in the like the belly of the arena. It was like a wild time where I'm like walking down underneath the arena. I passed by Woj, who's on the phone. Shams is over here on the other side in the corner. I'm walking right in front of Mike Breen as he's giving his Chick-fil-A order to like whoever his assistant is like Twitter, just like NBA Twitter, just like coming to life around me. It was just like so bizarre. I passed by like Tim McMahon and Tim Bontemps and like those like guys, and like walking with Sam Amick, and like it's just like what like this is like just like a weird just like realm of just NBA Twitter just coming to life around me. Anyways, dream of Breen.
Yeah, like it's not that we are just like brainwashed or something. I mean, if tomorrow, for example, Trey Murphy says, "Okay, enough of being here. I want to be
out of here. I'm so
get me out of here." For some reason, I don't like playing with CJ because he has a shot that is prettier than mine. Wow, I'm alone. What is happening? I'll keep going. Imagine, guys in the chat, I'm here. Do you see me? Is Andrew gone? Yeah.
I don't know what just happened. Happened. I'm back now. That was weird. I guess I'm just like allergic to like doing these fake trades.
Yeah, it was terrifying to being here alone. So I'm saying, suppose that Trey Murphy says to the GM, okay, you can't have anybody there who has a shot that is prettier than me, than mine. So I can't stand playing with CJ. And he wants to trade. Now, of course, Presti will hear and will listen and will probably put some chips on the table because Trey Murphy is perfect. Like, he's the perfect player. I mean, he's tall, he can defend, he takes 7, 8, 9, 10 shots, maybe 11. Who cares? He's not a super duper star. He's not the guy that will demand like 25 shots. Maybe he is, but I mean, he's still young. He's still playing with 3 players that are clearly better than him in Shea, Chad, and Dub. It would be fantastic. Now, Jaden McDaniels, suppose that he hates to be in Minnesota because he has to play with a French guy, and he wants to come to Oklahoma City.
Says as long as the trade includes Ousmane Dieng, then we're good.
Yeah, sure. It's a swap. I mean, I don't want to play with a French player. Okay, but let's do that. So it of course he's the perfect guy. I mean, not maybe perfect, but you can clearly see how this can work, and it will not take away anything. It will be like the Swiss Army knife in terms of defense. You can switch into a couple of guys. It will help Chet Holmgren. Great. Nobody is trading those guys. Like nobody. You need either to draft that guy, Williams, Cody, sorry, or you need to find slowly a player that is maybe past his prime, that fits what you need, a player that maybe on a, I don't know, Ibaka over the last years of his career. That would be a good piece to add. You need to be very, very smart. Now,
Mhm.
I read the name Kelly Olynyk, which we both like a lot. If he wants out and he's fine playing with Shea, just as a back, I'm not that worried about Jay Will not getting enough reps. I don't really care. I mean, yes, it's important,
It's
and
not
I
changing
think that
our lives. I like the idea too, but it's not changing our lives.
yeah. Matt Noonan says Grant Williams, great. OKC can't pay 25 millions or whatever.
Also, like Dallas just signed him, and he plays an important role for them. And it's not like they're looking to trade Grant Williams either.
No, but we probably mentioned, hey, we should have signed him. Sure, but it's not worth the money.
He's not like he's really not even like the guy that you would want. I mean, like that's the thing, and this is what the point I was trying to make is like the Thunder have like the luxury of patience because like they have these guys that are locked in, and they have all the assets to do it. Like they have the benefit of being patient. Like they have the benefit of having some patience.
Yeah.
You know,
And
they will.
finding a good guy. Yes,
Like,
Evan Riggs.
they
We
will.
love Dorian Finney-Smith. Yes, we do like that. But it's it's the same as the other two that we mentioned. He's playing a key role for a team, the exact same role that OKC wants him to play. So it's yes, those kind of players are guys that you can put in the roster and it will work. And if someone with those skill set will pop up, will come around, I mean, I'm sure that Presti will think about that. Maybe in free agency, maybe through trades. Yes. Yes. We are talking about high-level role players that play a specific low usage or low amount of shots kind of role while being extremely versatile. Yes. Those players, guess what? Like 30 teams out of 30 are looking for those guys.
Yeah. I mean, and like let's see, who was it that suggested it in the chat? Evan Riggs in the chat, like Dorian Finney-Smith. Like, yeah, I think that's the kind of player that makes a lot of sense. Like low usage, great defender, 6'7", long wingspan. He's had experience playing in the playoffs, 30 years old. Like, yeah, that's great. And he's a little Kenrich Williamsy, and like if you can just add more guys like that, like that's great. This is where you could like ship Bertans and a pick maybe, and call it a day. I also just don't know like where are the Nets when it comes to trades. And like that's something like, of course, like the Thunder, it would make sense for the Thunder to do a deal like that. Like, yeah, what could they need? Like more shooting wings. Great, that's great. But like the Nets are pretty good.
Yeah.
And Dorian Finney-Smith plays a big role for them. Yeah. Is that somebody that the Nets are just like, yeah, we'll take a first rounder for him? Just think about the Thunder. Think about the Thunder when it comes to trades like that. Because Kenrich Williams over the course of the last several years was a guy that I think could have gotten you like a pretty nice asset. But they did never trade him, did they? Their preference was to extend him and to keep him around because he's important to them. So, like Dorian Finney-Smith plays 29.9 minutes per game for them. He plays a bigger role than Kenrich has really ever played for the Thunder. And so, like, is that the kind of guy? Like, yeah, like he's like that's kind of this big wing that shoots threes and specifically shoots corner threes. Like that's great. Like we have to think about the role that he plays for them. Yeah, he's shooting 46.5% on corner threes.
Yeah. That's 30. Not probably going to be the percentage that he ends the season with, but yeah, it's good.
So I just trying to make a point. I think they have time. I think they will take their time. I think they will be opportunistic as they have in the past. Like this is not a team that is just like sat on their hands for year after year after year, just hoping and praying that things would get better. Like no, like they've been opportunistic, and I think they will continue to be opportunistic for sure.
Yeah.
But like the fact is, like a team like Detroit, a team like Houston, who already had to make these moves because it wasn't working, because they didn't have the top 5, top 20, top 40. They didn't have it. They didn't have anything close to it. And so, like, we have to fix it, and we have to fix it now. We have to fix it with overpaying for guys. Like, the Thunder don't have to do that. Detroit is going to have to figure something out really quick because the guy who's making the decisions is probably going to get fired. You know, like, the Thunder have the luxury of being patient. Like, the Pistons, do they have? They don't have anything that looks like a top 5 guy. Is Cade potentially the top 20 guy? Maybe. But
it's a huge maybe. Top 20 is.
It's a big maybe that they even have that. So just what I'm saying is, the Thunder do have the luxury of waiting, and it's because they are second in the Western Conference today. 24 games in for them. They have guys that you could see being here for a long time. That like, they need time and experience together, and they have a GM who has been and will continue to be opportunistic in times where he needs to be and can be. And it's going to take specific kinds of players, specific situations, specific contracts that all kind of have to line up. And when they do, and there will be somebody that does, they'll do it. But like, until then, we just have to like focus on enjoying this team that has already put together a roster that is amazingly competitive after 3 drafts. I mean, that is insane. That is insane. And they have the picks. And
so is it the time to finally use those picks?
That's another thing. Like, I like Kevin O'Connor. I like him. But boy, like, to say the phrase, is it finally time for them to cash in? Man, it hadn't even been that much time. And like, we're like,
finally
acting. I mean, that's the thing, is like, we all trick ourselves all the time. We trick ourselves into thinking that something has it has been more time or less time or whatever. But like, we have to really sit and think about, like, exactly how much time has there been? Exactly how much time do we think we have left? And like, I think we would all look back at what the Sixers did. And I think it's a really, really good thing to look at. All look back at what the Sixers did and say, boy, if they just didn't trade for Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
It would have been really good for them. And
yeah, that move, it's not about just the move. It's about what that move was crucial to in the retaining of Jimmy. Like, had they had, like, maybe they would have done it anyway because of Simmons and whatnot. And you can argue that they made that huge mistake, like of letting go the wrong player. But sure, the Tobias trade did not really raise their ceiling. They did it too early, and it's something where, yeah, you're really using that kind of money that they had to spend for multiple years, because you can't risk of losing Tobias for nothing, and so you overpay. So again, maybe you trade for Lowry, and somehow Chet will be fine for his entire career of getting 10 shots, and Lowry becomes insane. And maybe you win a chip immediately because you are lucky and you do it, and yeah, it can happen. Maybe not winning a chip immediately, but that everything works to perfection.
Yeah,
sure, it can.
Well, and think about, like, the Thunder got.
Yeah,
I think the Thunder got Cason Wallace in this last draft, who like, I think very highly of, who I think like could be like a big piece for them moving forward, who's going to like continue to get better. He's the exact kind of player that you want around these guys. What if you find another one of those guys in this next draft, and like, oh man, we traded for somebody. Like, we traded for a guy at before the deadline, and they play the exact same position that the guy that we drafted is. We can't develop him. We don't have the minutes for him. We don't have this. We don't have that. There's still time. Like, there's no reason to panic. Like, and it's because, like, they're good. They're good. The teams that need to panic, the teams that need to push the button, the teams that need to do all that are the teams where it's just not working.
Yeah.
Houston had to do it.
A lot.
Houston had to do it. They invested hundreds of millions of dollars to do it, and they did it. And good job. Like, great. They've accomplished something. Detroit's going to have to do it. They've made a mess of their roster. with the way that they've drafted, and they're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
The Thunder have the luxury of not having to panic and not having to do something. They do have that luxury. That does exist. Okay. Michele, anything else before we go? This is fun. So let's just look ahead real quick. The Thunder play Memphis tonight. Last game before John Morant comes back later this week, which should be quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look at the injury report real quick to see, because Desmond Bane has missed some games recently, and I don't know who is on the injury report for them tonight. I am stalling because I am pulling up the NBA injury report. Here it is. Yeah, this is So Bane is not on their injury report.
So they're gonna play.
They don't have anybody on their injury report. So they still are. Derrick Rose is out with a hammy.
Mhm.
Marcus Smart is still out. Luke Kennard is out. Bismack Biyombo is doubtful. Oh no, he's really been bad.
Bismack. How many years is he playing? I mean, it's been maybe 15 years. I don't know.
Yeah, man, they are just not good. They have collected a lot of players that are just some of the worst players in the league to surround their guys with.
And just to jinx it a bit, I mean, even if over the season there will be a stinker, maybe a couple, it can happen. Don't freak out. It may happen after the greatest win of the season. It can.
It can. But like Vince, like who's their point guard?
Who cares? I mean, stinkers are stinkers because you don't expect them to be anything real.
I know, but if Jacob Gilliard is the one that's starting, because like that's like because Derrick Rose is unlikely to play. I mean, Bane will just handle a lot, but then like that they have one of the worst benches in the league.
Yeah,
like David Roddy, Santi Aldama is pretty good, but
have you seen the poor?
Yeah, come on.
What's the name of the guy? Kenny Lofton Jr. has been let go.
Yeah.
Do you remember those minutes against Chet Holmgren when everybody freaked out and thought that Chet was not good because Kenny Lofton Jr. had the best of him in one summer league game? Shout out to Kenny.
Shout out Kenny Lofton, summer league legend, Team USA basketball legend. But yeah, Kenny Lofton. It has been like telegraphed for like weeks now, like that they were going to have to let somebody go when Ja came back so they could keep. This just seems like an absurd sentence. So they could keep Bismack Biyombo. They're having to do this.
Bismack Biyombo. Well, poor Steven. That is also because basically the Adams injury ruined Kenny Lofton's career. That's bad. Sad.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. So they play Memphis tonight. Then things get a little bit tougher in the rest of this week. Before Christmas, they play the Clippers on Thursday, which the Clippers have been awesome lately. I'm actually really excited about that one. Like that would be a really big time win and not an embarrassing loss at all if it happened. And then they play the Lakers on Saturday on the 23rd. Then they get Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off. So nice of the league. And then they play back-to-back, though, Minnesota and the Knicks on the 26th and 27th. Like that's no joke. And the Knicks haven't been as good lately. They're missing Mitchell Robinson, who's been like an offensive rebounding freak, who I kind of had that one circled because like he's like been like one of the best offensive rebounders so far this season of like all time, like one of the best of all time. And so I was like,
Liar. This is not why you had this circle. It's because you can't part with our dear friend Fred.
I mean, I also have it circled there. I know Fred's a little bit sad that one of his favorite restaurants here stopped serving their green beans, but they did stop serving their green beans.
Amazing, the green beans of Fred.
Shout out to Fred. I'm sure Fred will come on what used to be his podcast, Thunder After Dark. So if you're not subscribed to that, patreon.com/OKC Dream Team, and you can subscribe to that. Look for that. We'll definitely have one, if not multiple episodes with Fred that week. Okay. It's a fun team. Great times. I'm so excited to watch this team again tonight. can't believe we have this team in Oklahoma City. It's great. I can't believe like we voted yes. We get a new arena. We get to keep this team forever. Like it's like there's just so many good things.
Right. We didn't talk about that. It was the day before. It's awesome. I'm so excited.
It's great.
Like
new arena. There's rumors that they're going to build like this tower, which would be the second largest tower in the entire United States, which is 100% not happening. It would be really cool, but there is no way they would actually do that. I think they are going to build something there. I don't think it's going to be the second tallest tower in the country.
Maybe they want to build the arena in the tower and they play horizontally. I don't know.
The future is now. The future is now. Hope you guys have an awesome day. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll talk to you guys again on Wednesday.